Finally, there's all of these connected devices with sensitive measurement instruments. Sometimes they're about movement, such as pedometers. Sometimes they're about features of your skin. In the future, they might be about the chemical composition of your sweat or your blood, or spectroscopy-based measures of those things. And that continuous stream of measurements leaving us all the time will give us new options about how we track ourselves and how we track other living organisms and other items of interest around the world. In the field that I'm from, genomics, it really is a global endeavor, especially when we talk about humans. So humans are a very homogeneous species as species go. We came as an explosion out of East Africa, and really to understand human genetics, you have to understand the world's genetics. There isn't really a subdivision that makes any sense. And so with projects like 1,000 Genomes projects and other projects going on, this is sampled many places around the world, and we continue to sample now many different places to get a good understanding in collaboration with the communities in those different areas. I'll point out in particular a big push into Africa, because there's a huge amount of human genetic diversity in sub-Saharan Africa. Furthermore, going outside of humans, genetics has a huge potential to impact developing world crops. So in the developed world, the major crops, that's maize, wheat, rice, have undergone a 50-year, 100-year breeding program of trying to improve their yields, improve the way they can be farmed. Many of the developing world crops haven't gone through that process, and genetics, we know, can speed this up hugely. As well as the genetics of the crops, one can think about precision farming. This is where one's using satellite-based and other location-based measures to understand the soil and where best to farm and where best to plow and how best to organize yourself. Although this is a developed world technology at the moment, it's very clear that that technology is very portable and therefore can be applied in the developing world. And finally, in thinking about pathogens and pests, just like the weather, you have to think about it globally. There's no point in treating the developed world as somehow unconnected from the developing world. If you want to understand outbreaks of human pathogens, of bacteria, if you want to understand outbreaks of crop pathogens, then you've got to treat the whole system. You've got to monitor the entire planet. And that's going to be as useful for the developing world as for the developed world. So the final interesting thing is that biology, this molecular measurement process, has this incredibly direct point of impact for society via healthcare. And this next decade, we're going to see molecular measurements really pervading into healthcare. What will happen first is genomics. It's already happening now in the UK. It's happening in a number of places for cancer, for all sorts of things. But in the future, I'm sure it will go way beyond genomics. It will also be measuring RNAs, proteins, all sorts of different things in humans as they move through the healthcare system. And so there is this massive part of society, this massive part of our economy, being the healthcare sector, that our science is going to become pervasive into. And that's going to be a big change for us, big change for healthcare, a big change for the benefit of all, for society, but a lot of change over the next decade.